But there's some serious personality changes that you don't choose. They're actually physical. And a big pain I had in my life is one of those. It was 1968, kind of portentous year for everybody. My father was a Lutheran campus minister at Purdue, at Madison, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, and I'd seen him on his knees in the sacristy in his robes, getting ready to give an anti-war sermon. I remember Madison. I remember skateboarding down Bascom Hill, which is like a bitch of a skate. You got to learn how to stop before you get to the bottom, or you go 10 feet down into State Street, where I'd cadge like chemistry equipment from the grad students on the side, where I just basically blow up stuff in my basement, but nothing like the C4 that the SDS weatherman put in a big truck and drove into the math science building that summer, that blew out the stained glass windows of our church a mile away. But we moved before that. I watched the Democratic National Convention that summer from Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. God, what a downturn that was, to go to Indiana from Wisconsin. Going down Bascom Hill, though, the chemistry stuff I got, it didn't hurt me understand who I was. Bascom Hill is where they put thousands of white crosses for people protesting all the Americans dead in Vietnam. The year we were still there, they firebombed the Daily Cardinal office, which is a student newspaper, believe it or not. So it was a serious, serious year. Even more serious for me, unfortunately, because about a month before we moved, I was at my old elementary school, Midvale Elementary, where they had a big fence around this baseball field. And there's a big crowd on one side, and I wanted to get over to the other side to watch the game better. But I want to detour all around the big fence. So there was no one at bat. The catcher wasn't in position. So I thought I'd just sprint behind home base. But as I was doing so, the guy who is the batter on deck did his backswing. Poof. Now, I was told that sounded like a home run, but I don't remember that. All I remember is laying on the grass, hearing a siren, and thinking, oh my God, somebody's been hurt. And then trying to remember the formulae for permutations and combinations, which we just learned in school. I was 14 years old at the time. And I think I might have remembered at the time, but I have no recollection now for what they were. Well, we moved to West Lafayette, Indiana, Purdue University. My father's now going to be a Lutheran campus pastor there. And I did ending up watching the convention from there. But I got cachet from being the cool kid from Wisconsin because they had book bags. This is before backpacks became an in thing, which always bugged me. They're not backpacks, they're knapsacks. Backpacks are what you do hiking in the woods with or hitchhiking cross country. Those are backpacks. These are knapsacks. Okay, mellow out. But I got some cachet with, I went to West Lafayette High School. It was mainly professors' kids. And I made good friends there. My first friend, professor, his father was a professor of psychology. Uh-oh, portent of the future. And he turned me on to Lenny Bruce, who, I remember this quote of his, if you lose the right to say fuck, you lose the right to say fuck the government. He also turned me on to the Mothers of Invention. We got involved in an anti-Vietnam discussion group, a club called the World Affairs Discussion Group in my high school. We did an underground newspaper they almost got kicked out of school for. But I remember two big incidents. One was in my creative writing class, the teacher was all into honesty and shit. And he says, I want you to write a dialogue like people really talk. So I did, and there's a lot of shit and fuck and so forth in it. And I got kicked out of that class, kicked out. I'm sitting in the hall listening to the rest of the class argue with this motherfucker about why I should have been kicked out of the class or not. Victory. He hated me, but never mind. That's a whole different story. Then there was my English class with the teacher who was like a little bit potted most of the time, probably an alcoholic. But we had to do some projects, so we did Freak Out Day. My friend teaching me about the Mothers of Invention, okay? And we just had kids do weird shit, eat malted milk balls, um, take a quiz that fit in a postage stamp. I mean, just stuff to stretch your mind. The teacher, a little potted, kind of says, "Wait, where are you going with this?" And I'm like quoting from um, Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception and Perennial Philosophy. And we get an A for this. 20 years later, I'm a college professor, occasionally getting called on the carpet for using bad language, teaching general psych with a freak out day, the beginning of every class, every time different. And finally, I remember showing my brain scan to a bunch of my students and saying, and I don't think they understood the output of this. It was like, first, can you summarize the symptoms of right supraorbital cortex damage, right, with the baseball bat? And of course, those are a tendency to scatological language, some impulse control difficulties, and problems with authority. And I said, well, but if my inappropriate behavior is because of that damage, am I any worse than someone that has a hard time walking because they had an amputation? Really? Well, like an old other kid from Indiana once said in a song, John Cougar Mellencamp, I fought authority, authority always wins.